Okay, right now it's saying I'm live. We will see how this goes. Take two. Anyone who knows me knows that it's not surprising that this took two takes. I am Jeff Ellis. I am the host of Lockdown Guardians. Before that, I was Elite Draft expert at Scott 24/7, and I just can't quit the draft, so I got to do one of these for fun. This is going to be my final attempt. It's going to get a little bit spicy. I'm trying to illustrate some points before anyone accuses me of being a homer. I am going to do my old school format, which is I'm going to give a pick and a sleeper with each selection, instead of focusing on, normally I like to, make the picks as I'm going through, pull up the prospects live draft simulator. I already did it to hopefully save time, and then I had terrible connection points. So, but you're not here to hear me talk. Well, you are, but not about this. Let's dive in. Cleveland has the first overall pick, and nobody seems to have any great idea. Vegas thinks that it is Travis Bazzana. Interesting thing is that even though a lot of mocks have stuck with Weatherholt, myself included, that we haven't seen that money line move too much. So that stands out. The big money shifter has been Chase Burns. That's because he started a ridiculously low number for a guy who, I don't know, is probably one of the top 5 candidates. I still think right now it's going to be J.J. Weatherholt, and part of this mock is going to be to show why that is. I'm going to try to make this a little bit illustrative of why I think that they might be leaning Weatherholt. The sleeper here is Bazzana. He does feel like everything they would want. If you made a player in a lab outside of age, he is going to be 22 about 2 months after the draft, so that's really the only knock for them. But I'm going to go with Weatherholt and money savings, and I'll show why as we get through this. Number 2 pick right now feels like Charlie Condon. If every single rumor right now, by the way, is involving money savings. Like everything you're reading about is money savings. This team's considering this for money savings. And why is this the rumor? Well, one, 48 hours before the draft, I don't know how much you want to believe, but two, everyone's trying to save every dime they can. So not to be cheap. I want to stress that. This is so teams can use that money later on in the draft. It's a draft for like, I don't know, I feel like round pick 19 or so, it gets a little bit weaker. And it stays kind of weak compared to most drafts until about, about 45. Then it starts to kind of even out and be like most draft years again. But it's because that's off middle. I think teams are hoping to save some money and maybe push someone down, or to come back and get some of those interesting players in round 3 and round 4 who might miss out. So I think this is a lot of game playing. So I still think it's Condon here. I think the sleeper here is Cags if they want to save some money. I'm going to take one quick break here to share this on my Twitter in case anyone did want to join in. I know I should probably I wonder if I can. If only I knew how to use OBS better, I would have like a little. I don't want game capture. I don't want image capture. Media source. Text, right? Okay, text. Create a new. Let's see how this goes. So I'm just kind of curious to put this in here and go text and then go double click and go 1. JJ, this is way too big. Weatherholt. And then I misspelled his name anyways. So I get for messing around. Discard. Yeah, I'm going to click cancel. I'm going to discard. I'm going to click cancel. Okay, this doesn't want to go away. But yeah, I'm wasting a lot of time, and who's going to want to watch all this time wasting? So after those two, we get to Colorado. And Colorado is where, I don't know if I want to say it gets interesting, but it gets a little bit interesting because this is a team that has gone pitching of late, but they do like power, and they're also a franchise that frankly could use a face. And looking through all of the pieces and parts here, I'm going to lead toward Chase Burns. I did get to see him a lot a year ago when they drafted eventual first rounder Chase Dollander. They know him. Again, I feel like he's fully kind of set himself up as that next tier of player. It's like him and Weatherholt are at the top of that next tier for me. Do I feel 100% confident? No, I don't feel 100% confident about anything right now, if I'm being honest. But it is a situation where, relative to everything else, I feel pretty good about how this is going. I'm just messing around to see if I can make this work or not with text. And for whatever reason, this looks so incredibly tiny. So I'm not going to mess around with text. I'll learn how to do things another day. I'll just close this thing off so I don't have to deal with it. I'll just, I'll delete the whole darn thing. Next up, 4th overall, Oakland. Hot rumor is it's silly season, is Nick Kurtz on an underslot deal. I still think they're just messing around. I think it's Bazana here. I think the sleeper would be Montgomery because they do like athletes. I'm thinking right now it's Travis Bazana. I think he's the guy who was 4. I really wish I could get the text to work. That's just gonna be my annoyance for this whole dang show. I know I did it in the past. That's what annoys me with it. So if I go here and I go select font and I go, I guess I don't want to make it too small. I go like 11 and I go okay and I go 1. I'm just gonna see what happens here. I know people are like, just get to the mock. And I can't even see where this went. Okay. And that looks awful. That's just awful. You can't even read it. Wow. We're gonna delete that right away. I really wish I could give you the list. So to recap instead is how we got to do this. Weatherholt, Condon, Burns, Bazana, White Sox at 5. I think it's Cags at this point. Hot rumors them on college players. I have my concerns with him. I think the sleeper here would be Hagen Smith with the way things have gone. Especially because I'm hearing one of the things I heard that Hagen Smith's going to follow the top 10. That makes me even more convinced he's not. I think this is kind of a 5 is the falling spot, right? Like it's, if Oakland gets silly, Bazana goes here. If Cleveland takes Bazana, Weatherholt probably goes here. Chicago's just kind of laying in wait to see who slides. Number 6. So 6th on the board is Kansas City. I think it's Hagen Smith. They have gone prep of late, but I think as they're getting closer, as their team is getting closer to contending, there is going to be a degree of finding talent to help sooner rather than later. I've heard Smith of them at various points. They did have a history of, under the previous GM, of drafting a ton of pitching. Unfortunately, most of it did not work out. Sleeper, Bryce Renier here, if they decide to go prep. Number 7. That pick belongs to St. Louis Cardinals. I'm going to get a little weird. Now, this mock will get very weird. I'm going to be honest about that. But we're going to start with weirdness here. Trey Yusevich, right-hand pitcher from East Carolina. Yusevich is as young as Hagen Smith. They're both 20. That is a big benefit. He has the most advanced secondary offerings. He has really good data. ECU has been excellent at pitcher development. Like, I bet you there are teams that have him as the number 1 pitcher on their board. I know people are out there screaming like he's not in that elite tier. I don't think that matters. I think there are teams who will legitimately look at him and say, this dude is the safest and the best pitcher of the group. So I'm going to put Yusevich here. I think he's going in the top 10. I think that is a really safe thing. I think sleeper could be Braden Montgomery. Just because, again, good athlete. They've liked power hitters. They've liked outfielders. They've liked, that type. So we move on to the Angels at 8. I feel like the Angels are going to do something weird, right? They do something kind of weird every year. Just dealing quick, responding to chat. Welcome, Bazana. I wish you were right, Landon. I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case. I don't think they're going to take Burns. I know that's been a bit of a hot rumor. I mean, what happens if they take Burns is he doesn't pitch the rest of the year. They shut him down. Thank you, Sam, for the kind word. This team does not often let guys continue pitching. And the other problem with Burns is Paul Skeens is tier 1 a year ago. Legitimately a tier 1 talent. This year, tier 1 talent are Bazana and Condon. Burns is tier 2 just because the command and control isn't quite there. Like, there are concerns. There's also he's toned down the violence. There's still some violence. It's a high reliever risk to a degree still. He's been healthy so far, which can be viewed as, hey, he's going to stay healthy, or hey, he's due, depending on how you view pitching right now. But that's where I kind of am with him. So getting back into it with the Angels, they're going to do something weird because it's the Angels, and they always do something weird. Christian Moore in an underslot deal is who I have going here because I was just trying to figure out what would be the weirdest thing. And Moore's had some late rumored. And then you want your weird sleeper here, Durangelo Cincha. Probably still got his name wrong. Trying to work on it, but with the 8th pick here, I'll have Christian Moore, second baseman, Tennessee. At the end of each top 10, I will go through and kind of re-rack what I've had where, but the sleeper is Durangelo Cincha. 9, the Pirates. So at this point, Pittsburgh does like underslot. You got Tibbs there. Could two teams back-to-back go underslot? I don't know. They've also liked high-ceiling athletes. That's Montgomery. It is funny, the number of people who will tell me that Montgomery is fast. He is not fast. He is strong. He is powerful. He has a heck of an arm, but he is not a speed demon. He's a right fielder. The ankle injury doesn't really hurt him. What hurts him is the swing and miss and the K rate. That is the concern. That's why he's lower. There's a lot more risk in that profile. There's also a lot of growth, but I think he's an interesting player to the Pirates at pick 9. Sleeper being James Tibbs if they want to do one of their underslot ones. Washington Nationals, their approach to the draft for a long time has been take the sliding talent, take the guy who was higher on the board in August, in January, the highest named guy who has maybe slid. That's Elijah Campbell. That's Seth Romero. That's Cade Cavalli. That is often their approach to the draft. Brady House. So who is that guy here? It's Nick Kurtz. Now there's talk that Kurtz might slide. First baseman, some concerns with passivity. My sleeper here would be Bryce Renier, the shortstop, but I have Kurtz. So to reset, J.J. Weatherholt, 1 shortstop, not Pittsburgh, West Virginia, to Cleveland. Then I have Charlie Condon, outfielder, from Georgia to Cincinnati. 3, we have Chase Burns, right-handed pitcher, from Wake Forest to the Rockies. 4, to Oakland, Travis Bazzana, second baseman from Oregon State. Number 5, we have Jack Caglione to the White Sox, first baseman from Florida. 6, Hagen Smith, left-hand pitcher from Arkansas to the Royals. 7, Trey Yusevich, right-hand pitcher from East Carolina to the Cardinals. Number 8 is Christian Moore, second baseman from Tennessee to the Los Angeles Angels. Number 9 being Braden Montgomery, outfielder, Texas A&M to Pittsburgh. And then Nick Kurtz, first baseman of Wake Forest to the Nationals. At pick 11, I think Cam Caminiti. I still believe that rumor. The fact that people are moving off of it in the last 24 hours makes me think it's even more the case. We know they like prep. Right now, that is an interesting prep player, arguably the top prep pitcher on the board. Sleeper here would be, I think, Bryce Renier. That takes us to 12 with the 12th pick in the draft. Cam Caminiti, I should say the whole thing. Left-hand pitcher, Saguaro High School. I didn't write down my paper he's committed to. I want to say LSU, but I could be wrong. Boston is here. Boston's front office comes from Chicago. Chicago's been a very conservative front office in the draft. James Tibbs still being on the board, I think, is an easy value at this point, with Ryan Waldschmidt, who has some great batted ball data, as the sleeper. 13th pick. You're moving down to the San Francisco Giants. Had been super conservative. Last year, not so much. They love two-way guys, though, right? Crawford, Eldridge. Bryce Renier is a two-way player. He's going to be a shortstop, no doubt, but he is a two-way guy. California kid. They've had opportunities to scout and see. A shortstop out of Harvard Westlake. Chicago Cubs. They do like athletes. They do like college players. Seaver King started to come on more and more as the year went on. There is some swing and miss, but there's a chance he's going to play an elite position, which not a lot of guys in this class can say. There is good exit velocity. There's a lot of good data. It's just he chases a lot, and he's raw. But Seaver King, shortstop, center fielder, third baseman, pick your poison to the Cubs with a sleeper of Ryan Waldschmidt, because, again, great batted ball data. 15, Seattle Mariners. I don't think that's take a quick break to answer another chat question. I think that's a bad comp, and I don't want to get myself. I wouldn't use Bleacher Report always for draft data. This might get me in trouble, but I have never looked there once when it comes to draft stuff. I'll look a lot of other places, but not there. I don't want to get myself in trouble, and I don't want to be a jerk. Hopefully it's not that. I just don't think that is a primary focus for what they're doing, is baseball. if anyone I was going to comp to Chase Utley, it's Bazana, and that's been through the whole process. JJ doesn't. He has exit velocities, but you have to redo his swing. That's kind of the problem right now with JJ. On top of the hamstring health issues, is like Bazana spent all last summer completely remapping his swing, getting into his pull power, and that's why he hit a lot of home runs last year. He remapped it. On the other side of things, JJ still isn't pulling a lot. You have to kind of work. The exit velocity numbers, yeah, they're fine. They're great. But it's a swing remap to get into them. So he's more of a table setter. I don't think he's Chase Utley. Chase Utley's a borderline Hall of Famer. I don't love that one, and hopefully I don't come off as the world's biggest jerk, so I'll apologize if I did. Seattle. Gerangelo Cincha, right-handed pitcher. I mean, he's a right-handed pitcher, Mississippi State. Natural lefty. Started pitching as a righty. His dad was a righty in Amsterdam in the professional leagues there. I don't know if he's going to work as a lefty. Maybe if you're facing a guy who's just really bad on lefties, but he's basically a right-hand pitcher. He's undersized. He's draft-eligible sophomore, but he's really good in the SEC. It's been a hot rumor. I can believe it. They have a history of drafting pitching. I don't necessarily think that there's a great other fit. Like, they've been going with a lot of prep talent, unless they're going to pop Slade Caldwell here or Theo Gillen. I mean, Kellen Lindsey, those are like the prep guys are kind of in this range. I don't know if any of them. I mean, Lindsey might be their type of guy. It's weird. I don't know why I had Carson Bench as the fallback here on my list. I actually don't like that. I would say Kellen Lindsey, the shortstop out of Hardy High School, I believe, committed to Florida, would be the backup. But I believe the Cincha talk. I believe what's going with them, and that rumor of him connecting there just makes logical sense. So going on to 16, Miami Marlins come from Tampa. Tampa has a relatively recent history of doing some prep players, some prep talent. Would Miami go there? I just feel like at this point in the draft, this is one of those weaknesses where, like, I really like Theo Gillen, but he hasn't been healthy. And I love Slade Caldwell, but he's probably 5'5", 5'6". There's some big question marks, and there's some fantastic college performers. So I'll give him Cam Smith, the draft-eligible sophomore. Really great data, really great production, excellent power potential. And then Ryan Waldschmidt is still there. He might just be a left fielder. That's why he's kind of a bit of a slider in this general draft. 17, Milwaukee Brewers. They have a type that's a college player. So Carson Bench, and the reason I go Bench over Waldschmidt, even though I think both are fantastic, is Bench has a chance to play center field. Again, I think Waldschmidt's probably more of a left fielder. He might have more offensive growth ceiling than Bench. Bench weirdly had his exit velocity down this year. I would argue he's your best two-way guy in this class. Like, he has the best chance to do it because has some pitchability. But yeah, this is kind of that perfect range for Bench. And 19, we have up the New York Mets. Front office came from, or no, I skipped. I was at 17. 18 is where I am, actually. This is Tampa Bay. Tampa has gone all around. It took a sliding talent. Oh, Samuel. Quick timeout. Who did Bleacher Report comp to Bazana? Is it Kipnis? Grady Sizemore. Okay, then they should definitely draft him. If he is Grady Sizemore, you should draft him because God, people are going to be so mad they take these little breaks in it. But Grady Sizemore, before his injury, his most common baseball reference comps were Duke Schneider and Barry Bonds. So Grady Sizemore was, before injury, a Hall of Famer in the making. He was going to maybe be, an all-time great for Cleveland. It's kind of crazy. That's why I don't love those comps. But to go back to the Rays are one of those teams that definitely, they can go high school, they can go prep. They have not taken a pitcher in a while, and specifically a prep one. A lot of the prep guys just have not worked out super well for them. Nick Bitsko's the last one I can remember, and I think he's hurt again, unfortunately. So I was looking at the list and trying to figure out what made sense, and Tampa is just a hard point because it could be anyone. So for me at this point in the mock, I'm with Kellen Lindsey, the shortstop / center fielder from Hardy High School, committed to Florida, with a sleeper here of Theo Gillen, just because offensively he is almost up in that upper tier for me. But Lindsey, they do like speed in Tampa, and Lindsey's one of the fastest guys in this class. Him and Dante Nori is the dude for speed, but he's up there, top five. For that, it's a hard pick. 19, now we're to the Mets. And when I look at the Mets, I know it's a front office came from the Brewers. When I look at the Brewers, college bats. Ryan Waldschmidt being on the board kind of makes this easy. Great batted ball data. It's one of those guys, if he hadn't hurt his knee in the Cape last year, tore his ACL, you wonder, would he already be gone? Like, probably should already be gone. I have him, I think, 12th on my own big board. Great value here. And if they like batted ball data, which I know in the past, like contact and things like that matter to the Mets, Kevin Bizzell, I know they have a lot of catchers in their system. Maybe he's a third baseman. There's, some other issues, but I think Kevin Bizzell is an interesting sleeper. So then it brings us around to the 20th pick. That is Tampa Bay. And when I look at Tampa Bay, or not Tampa Bay, I'm sorry. I've got one of my kids shouting upstairs. The 20th pick belongs to the Toronto Blue Jays. And the Blue Jays are another team that, they've gone prep, they've gone college. They used to be very much college and bloodlines. Alek Manoah, though, I think, is like the last high pick that was a bloodlines guy for them. Looking at who's on the board, where they could go, what they could do. They also have a front office that's a little bit under the gun. So they might be looking more for college than prep when you're looking at how it's going to affect your ability to grow as a team. Hey, I got to do a quick pause. I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. Apologize for that. Little ones being a little grumpy around lunchtime. So, going back here at the 20th overall pick to Toronto, they could go any number of ways. I do kind of expect them to go college over prep. And when I was looking at, who are the guys left? Walker Yannick, catcher from Texas Tech. I'm going to get myself in trouble here. No, Texas Tech is Bizzell, isn't it? So he is Sam Houston, right? That's it. He's Sam Houston College. But why him here? Well, Toronto's had a history of pretty good catching in their minors and have used that, leveraged it out. They're probably going to maybe end up trading a catcher this year. In terms of the bats, he might be the number one college bat left, just in terms of that mix of safety and security. He's non-sexy, right? He does everything solid, nothing spectacular. But I have him here with Brody Brecht as a sleeper. If they feel like they can fix him, the traits are fantastic. For Brecht at 21, Minnesota Twins, another team that can go all over the place. They have gone a little more prep of late. I buy in on the William Schmidt rumors here, right-hand pitcher from Catholic High School, currently committed to LSU. I just think if you like him, you grab him here because he's likely not going to get back around. So I think when you're looking at William Schmidt, if that is their dude, if they believe in him, you pop him here. And, when they're getting that Sonny Gray comp pick, you see who's left. But if Schmidt's your guy, you pop him. Sleeper here, Theo Gillen, does kind of feel like a bit of a Twins guy. Offensive upside, does everything well, and has an injury history. So, yeah, I know the Twins fans will love that statement. That brings us to the next pick in the draft. After 21, we have the Orioles at 22. And I'm going to give him Vance Honeycutt, the outfielder from North Carolina. Dude chases, dude K's at a rate that is unsustainable. I am not buying on Honeycutt. But we know Baltimore likes college performers. They like defenders, and they like power, most importantly. And if you think you can, they took Jude Fabian, right? That's a guy, they wanted to draft him the year before, who has some similarities to Honeycutt. And they've gone all out for power. And Honeycutt is, he's potentially 70 grade power, 70 grade defense. But there's also a world where he makes Bradley Zimmer look good. And it doesn't matter how much power if you can't get to it. He is huge risk, huge reward. I don't know what to make of him. I'm going to either be very wrong, like it's the thing, like I ranked him in my top 50 because of talent, but it's either I'm gonna be very wrong no matter what, because either he's not, there's no way he's gonna be like the 45th best player in this class. He's either gonna be a lot higher or a lot lower, and that's just the danger with someone like him. Caleb Blumavita has been rumored here, athletic catcher with some power. Catchers go quick, so if you want a catcher, it kind of makes sense to try to grab one here and not maybe wait to get one a little bit later on. But that's who I have. The Dodgers. So the Dodgers, I think my sleeper here is Braylon Doughty because they've like kind of smaller athletic pitchers. But if you're going to trade hunt, then Brody Brecht is on the board. He makes a ton of sense. They have worked with other pitchers and helped them refine and get better at their stuff. Brody Brecht is a top 10 talent who went to a school that had 3 potential top 4 round picks that all had massive regression this year. I think he's a really interesting player. I think it's a good value for the Dodgers, and I think they could turn him into something special. Next up is Atlanta. I said Braylon Doughty was the sleeper with the last pick. He is the pick here because, again, they're a team that does not mind undersized. They don't exactly go hunting for giants when it comes to pitching. Athletic traits, that's what Doughty has. The right-hander from Chaparral High School, I want to say. Oklahoma State commit, maybe. He's going to go somewhere in this range. A lot of people love him. 3 above average plus offerings, excellent athleticism. He's probably too low on a lot of boards. Yeah, he's 6'1". He is undersized, and that is a concern. But his pitching and his pitchability and everything else points to some growth. I think he is going to end up being a top 30 pick. My sleeper here was Ryan Sloan, who is one of my favorite pitchers in this class. He is more the big arm, if you wanted to chase that. So we now have the Padres at 25. San Diego Padres, 25th team in this draft. And who do they have them taking? But Theo Gillen, whose name keeps coming up. I mean, he's rumored to be in play as high as the top 10. If he had played last summer and if he didn't have, a labrum, a groin, and a knee injury over the last 3 years, he'd be gone. It is a massive gamble because it has been nonstop health issues. So if you can look past the nonstop health issues, it could be an absolute steal. Padres love ceiling. They like growth potential. That's Guillen here. If they're not going to take him, I don't know, Mike, is that really who I had my backup pick here? I have more Orlando written down for 25, and I'm not sure that that's necessarily who I like there. I guess just because sometimes they take a guy who is a bigger name in the fall than in the spring. So I think that's why I had PJ Orlando here. Next up in this draft, we have Philadelphia. Nope, we have New York at 26. New York Yankees, 26th pick in the draft. Last year they went prep. They have gone more college than prep. They definitely like college performers and college names, and I'm going to give them Tommy White. A lot of swing and miss, a lot of chase. Never really quite, 3 years of performance data is fantastic. Top 10 in home runs. He's been really good over 3 years, but didn't ever take a leap. And that's not what you necessarily want to see from a college player. I know he was hurt this past year, but first base only. But the Yankees do seem to love kind of that type. If they decide to go with a pitcher, I think Ryan Sloan would make a lot of sense here. If they go more prep, at 27, you have the Phillies. And the Philadelphia Phillies last year took Aiden Miller, who was a player who was viewed as one of the top prep bats, kind of just probably the next guy up after Max Clark and Walker Jenkins. And then he didn't have a great spring, and he slid, and this and that, and there's been no regrets with that. That player this year is PJ Orlando, who some people I had as the number one prep bat in the fall. So I think if they're going to go for power again and look at someone who maybe was higher at one point, Orlando makes a lot of sense here, with Cash Mayfield being an interesting prep arm sleeper. Though, again, maybe more Ryan Sloan. I do feel like they like big guys who throw a bit harder, and that's more Sloan than Mayfield. At 28, we have Houston Astros, typically college performers here. I have Caleb Lomavita, the catcher from Cal. He's in play all up and down these picks. The catchers are going to move quick in this draft, and catchers also have more value in trades. Houston typically will go more college here. They like athletic traits. They like power potential. They like positional value. That's all Caleb Lomavita. Dakota Jordan, who might have the best skills, or just best physical talent in this draft as a sleeper outfielder. I don't want to get myself in trouble. I believe Mississippi State, but I could say the wrong one and be in trouble. Arizona had success taking a sliding prep undersized outfielder before in Corbin Carroll. Slade Caldwell, if he's your guy, you don't mess around. You grab him here. You don't risk someone else popping him. I believe that they think that he is their guy, that he would be a great addition, and I can't argue with it. It'd be an incredible value from, I view him as one of the top 15 or so players in this class. So they're able to get Slade Caldwell here at 29. The downside of that for them is then they miss out on a catcher because I have Malcolm Moore going to the Rangers. Again, catchers are kind of flying off the board here. I have Ryan Sloan as a sleeper just because of positional value, but pitching value. He is by a solid margin the top pitcher on my board. At least he's the top pitcher on my board, not just top prep. But Malcolm Moore, draft eligible sophomore, good contact rates. I don't know if he's a catcher, and I don't know if he has enough power for first base. That's why he's kind of sliding to 30. But the catchers are going to go. I'm kind of surprised if any of them get past, if they're not all off the board by 30. At 31, Arizona. They sat there and popped Caldwell. So I'm going to give them Ryan Sloan. Brennan Malone was a comp pick for them. Blake Walton was a comp pick for them. They do have some history of taking a prep arm. I think Sloan is great value here. Dakota Jordan is the sleeper. Again, physical tools. They got 3 first-rounders. You could maybe take a gamble on a guy whose power and speed are that unbelievable, but with huge contact concerns. I think he is just a fun player overall. So I am more than willing to kind of take that gamble and see if he is the guy that okay, I'm not willing to take the gamble here, but I can understand why a team is willing to take the gamble. I think Sloan, though, there's more to come. He's got great extension. He's got good size. He's going to fill out and get better. So Ryan Sloan, right-handed pitcher, going to Arizona. Then we've got Baltimore back up here at 32nd, the 32nd pick, I should say. And this is, I believe, their Gunnar Hansen pick. Again, they like power. Billy Amick is kind of rumored to be around this range. Him and Tommy White as first baseman. A lot of swing and miss again. He doesn't have a lot of K rate, but he does. Contact in the zone isn't as strong. But what team doesn't care about that is Baltimore. Like power, more power. Billy Amick right here to them with a sleeper selection of Dakota Jordan. Next up, so I'm at 33 to Minnesota. Kalen Culpepper, people really like him. None of the data is spectacular. None of the performance is spectacular. But he could go higher than this. I'm low on him compared to most, but he's well-liked. He's a guy that has a lot of fans. I could have even pushed him higher. For some reason, I've just always thought about him and the Twins. I've Wyatt Sanford is kind of the sleeper here. I think the Texas player bloodlines could be someone the Twins would like as a type of, as a no-doubt shortstop. And I can already hear people being like, oh, you're being a homer. And I know what you're thinking, but I'm going to explain all of this as we get closer. 34, Brewers, Ryan Prager. They have a history of taking a pitcher in the comp round. I mean, at least with Josh Noth and Jacob Mizorowski last 2 years. Ethan Small was a first-rounder. I like Prager more than I liked Small at the time. He hasn't had velocity. Let's just be honest about that. That's kind of the concern here. But as in his first year back from Tommy John, he didn't have command issues. He's got some really nice movement. I think he's a player that just kind of stands out for his performance this year. And if the Brewers, maybe can save a little bit of money here, they can start putting together their plan from a year ago where it's a team that pushed Cooper Pratt, who was a top 25 talent on my board, all the way to the 6th round, 7th round where they paid him. So that can happen. Sleeper at 34. Looks like maybe I had Sanford again. I had a bunch of things crossed out. Going to 35 here. Arizona. Now, Arizona has gone with 2 high-ceiling prep guys. So let's roll it back in. They also might want to look for a little bit of savings. Kevin Bizzell, Has the best contact rates in college baseball. He is a catcher from Texas Tech. Maybe he's a third baseman. We'll see. Catchers rise. The data is good with him, specifically contact. You're looking at a potential catcher with really good contact skills. And again, maybe this is a chance to save a little bit of money to help pay Sloan and help pay Caldwell, who they took earlier. So trying to find a way to balance that. Sleeper Cash Mayfield if they just want to go all out. Cleveland. Okay, so this is where it gets weird, right? This is where I'm going to get accused of being a massive homer. And this is, I wanted to illustrate what I've talked about on the podcast, listen to Locked On Guardians, what Cleveland, I believe, is trying to do in this draft, which is if they take Weatherholt 1, they're looking at probably close to $2 million in savings. This pick is valued at $2.5 million. You add in the $2 million of savings, that's $4.5 million. You add the $900,000 you can go over slot, that's $5.4 million. The number of teams that can offer $5.5 million are not many. I know Cleveland has still been in contact with Connor Griffin, even though I don't think that they plan to take him one. I think they're hoping to push someone down. This is their overall plan. So I'm gonna be bold here and have Connor Griffin going 35 to Cleveland. Which again, I know, oh, you're a homer, this or that. If Cleveland offers more money, a guy will slide. Connor Griffin will slide. The thing is, we know as I go back and was working on this mock, it's like I couldn't believe I had Tibbs outside the top 15. I couldn't believe they do have 36. This is my problem. The one page was overdone here. Yeah, because I'm sorry. I just misspoke. I said 35 was Arizona. I have the order. I just said the wrong number. Cleveland is at 36. Guys get pushed down because of money. And if Cleveland goes massively underslot at 1, it's to get someone big here at 36. So this is what I think they're doing. Is again, if you're going to play around with the first overall pick and you're not going to take one of the clear top 2 talents, it's so you can manipulate the draft and try to get to the top 10. And that's what I think they could do. I wouldn't do this myself, but I think they're trying to push someone down. And again, like outside the top 10 this year, I had, as I was working on this, I had Tibbs, I had Rayner, I had, I'm trying to think, there's going to be 3 or 4 guys who slide. So if you come over the top and offer $5 million, no one else can match that. So this is what I think they're doing. I wanted to fully illustrate what I've talked about on the podcast of what I think Cleveland's trying to do. So go ahead. It's okay. People can rip into me. It's a bit of a weird selection. 37, the Pittsburgh Pirates. So I had him going Braden Montgomery before, and then Cash Mayfield is an interesting player. Tyson Lewis being the sleeper here. Mayfield is an old 19, turning 19 in February, but good command, control, extension, 2 above average pitches. I think Pittsburgh has a history with some prep talent and prep pitching, and he could be an interesting selection for them at this point in the draft. With Tyson Lewis just being, high ceiling guy that's still available. 38, Colorado. I think back to like Sterling Thompson, who was a draft eligible sophomore and they kind of took late after taking Jordan back. They like power. If they don't take the power hitter at 3, which in this case I didn't, I have him going Burns. Dakota Jordan, draft eligible sophomore, multi-sport guy. I mean, he might have the best power speed combo in the draft. It just, that command and not command. Ooh, that's pitchers. The hitting equivalent of command and control. His contact rate is abysmal. So you're betting on talent and hoping you can get more out of physical tools. With the sleeper again, Tyson Lewis, just because he's a really tooled up, really interesting prep player with some swing and miss concerns. 39. No, I skipped. No, Colorado's 38, 39. This is now Washington. And I kind of feel like Washington could be in a weird situation here where trading for this pick value the day before the draft, part of me wonders, like, if you go back to the 10th overall pick, if they're trying to maybe take $1 million, $1.5 million from this pick to add that to what they can do at 10. Like, are they trying to, if someone starts to slide, are they trying to come over the top and have the money to slide someone to them at 10? That's what I kind of feel like. Now, in this mock, I didn't have a huge name slide to them at 10. It was a lot of guys they could sign. So instead, coming back here at 39, you look at it, this is definitely a prep bat part of the draft. Carter Johnson, people mention Gunnar Henderson because they're both around this range, Alabama bats. He's probably more of a second baseman or a third baseman. He's not really a shortstop. But when I look at Carter Johnson, it's a good value for them. Wyatt Sanford being a sleeper pick. Now, I'm not going to do any more sleepers. I only did the top 39 for sleepers. Have it all written out here on this paper. But let's dive into day 2. So leading off the draft, I have Oakland, or not day 2, round 2. Whew. Round 2, I have Oakland taking Wyatt Sanford, the shortstop from Independence High School. Dad was a cup of coffee major leaguer. He is a no doubt shortstop. Not much power, but good defense, can make contact. Coach's son, player's son, makes a lot of sense for Oakland. Kansas City, they're rumored to be in on like some of the high school kids. After trading away the 39th pick, they're here at 41. If they want to go for a high ceiling high school kid, Tyson Lewis is still on the board out of Millard West High School in Nebraska. I think he's just a good value on top of giving them a degree of that high ceiling high school player they're rumored to be somewhat intrigued with at 6. Instead, I had him going with Hagen Smith. Rockies on the board again. So right now we have the Rockies going pitcher, hitter. Let's go another pitcher. Let's go with Bryce Cunningham. Might be a little bit dangerous. Was it because his best pitch is a changeup, and changeups don't change? I'm trying to remember exactly what it is in Colorado that doesn't work. But he performed well on the Cape. He's been a high level performer. I feel like it's maybe not the changeup because I want to say that was it the Gonzaga pitcher they took who's had arm issues was also a changeup first type of guy. So that's in my mind the changeup is okay there. Chicago White Sox, they've gone pitcher heavy in round 2. Drew Beam, he's just okay. nothing too grand one way or another. Not necessarily maybe my favorite guy, but he's solid. We've seen the White Sox go from Tennessee and have success with pitching. So Drew Beam, Washington Nationals, again a team that seems to look at how you did as a junior less than how you did as a senior. Mike Sirota, no doubt center fielder, excellent tools. Looked like a 5-tool guy coming in the air and then just lost the ability to make contact, played really poorly. If you want to go for some ceiling, he's a really interesting player. Just because of the tools are still there. He's young for the class. He performed excellent in the Cape. It's like, what went wrong? Is he healthy? Those are the concerns. Los Angeles Angels. I've heard some rumors they want to add to their shortstops, add more up the middle talent. We know they like small schools. Kyle DeBarge, shortstop, Louisiana Lafayette. A lot of people are big fans. He had a big jump in power this year. Not the biggest dude, but he is an interesting shortstop, and a no doubt shortstop. Had some, like I said, increases. This doesn't really, I had them go, Christian Moore earlier. Doesn't give them a guy to use that savings from. So I'm more projecting that they would spend that throughout the draft and or use that savings maybe to help them get some guys more on day 2 than day 1. Or maybe, to the Ohtani pick that, would still occur. Mets, again, David Stearns from Milwaukee. Sometimes their second round pick was kind of more of a borderline reliever profile. Ryan Johnson, right-hand pitcher from Dallas Baptist. Absolute fantastic performance, big velocity, very weird delivery. Probably a reliever. Chance he starts, but it just kind of makes some sense with what they've done. Pirates, maybe looking to save a little money here. I had them going with, multiple kind of high money players earlier. Griff O'Farrell gives them someone in the vein of some of their other second round picks of a high contact, good on base skills. Some Mitch Jebb, who I believe they drafted a year ago. Cleveland, I think they can get David Shields here. He kind of stands out. Reclassifier, lefty, cold weather, a lot of things they like. Former quarterback, just a blank slate type of pitcher right now. And with him, also one of the top 3 or 4 on the board at this point. And maybe he's full slot, maybe he's a little under slot. We'll have to see. Detroit at 49. Tyler Bell is going to go somewhere, and I wasn't sure where. So I just kind of gave him to Detroit because we know they're like prep talent. They went for up the middle town a year ago, so it gives them a up the middle player at this point in the draft. Boston at 50. Boston is a situation where they can kind of go any number of ways. Jonathan Santucci is just a really good value. Left-handed pitcher was once viewed to be with Yusevich in that kind of stream area of the draft. He's got the secondary pitches. The pitches are good. It's just command and control are an issue there. If you feel like you can work with him, if you're looking at traits over production, perfect. Reds also like to go pitching around too. Luke Holman was awesome for LSU this year. The stuff maybe wasn't quite as strong as in years past, but velocity I think I read was a little bit down, but he was extremely productive in the SEC. Cincinnati's great at finding extra gears and helping guys become better pitchers. San Diego, another team that likes pitching, so this is definitely the run of pitching. Ben Hess. Ben Hess has first-round traits and day 3 health. San Diego has taken risks in the past. He is a risk. He was not great this year. One can wonder if he wasn't fully healthy this year. But Ben Hess, the right-hand pitcher from Alabama. Yankees also feel like a team that is solidly in the pitching in this range. I gave them Gage Jump, the left-handed pitcher from LSU. Had a great year coming back again from Tommy John in the SEC. Those are great things to see. He is very small, but sub 6 foot lefty, but he's probably more of a back-end starter. But we're kind of getting to that point where pitching is hard to find. College pitching is a bit of a wasteland at this point in the draft. So I like Jump a lot. After him, definitely gets a lot harder. Cubs. So Cubs can, as a front office, sometime go with prep talent in here. Griffin Burkholder has been a hot name kind of on round 2 of the draft. Is a Virginia commit. It is hard to get those guys out of their commits, but he is a center fielder, athletic, good traits. Seattle. So Seattle, if they want to go prep pitching, it's a bit of a weird point in the draft. You kind of got maybe your third tier of prep arms. So I'm kind of looking did you post your final mock? I haven't done. I mean, I'm just doing it in here to Zustin to answer his question. I'm just doing it here. I will do a final mock around 4 o'clock and post that. That'll just be the picks themselves. This is the last one, in depth with sleepers going into round 2. So Seattle, rumored to just be on a lot of arms. That's not what the fan base wants with their offensive struggles. Dax Whitney is a right-handed pitcher out of Idaho. That's right, Idaho. Not a place you hear about a lot. Could be finding his way into round 1. Just in terms of valuations, he makes a lot of sense here if Seattle wants to go with lots of pitching. Miami. Jacob Cozart. Catching tends to rise. Cozart had a so-so year. He's a solid defender. I don't know where the bat's going to play, or how well the bat's going to play, but he just gives a college performer. That Miami team has struggled for years to find catching, trade away talent trying to get catching. Still haven't answered that problem for them. It's an interesting value bet here in round 2. 57, the Milwaukee Brewers. Cole Mathis, infielder, right-handed pitcher out of College of Charleston. I knew a scout last year who thought he could go either way. I just, real quick note, again, I respond to the chat because I appreciate the people who came. I just don't think Baz is getting under 9. That's just because when you have the first overall pick, you pay the first overall pick tax, which is you have to pay like a certain percentage relative to all things, or else an agent looks bad. So they're going to push for a higher number. I can distinctly tell you, I know a year ago a player took less money, which is weird to say, and got full slot in the 20s instead of taking a deal in the teens. People are weird. Well, thank you to Mike for the kind words. So to get back into this, why Cole Mathis? Well, the Brewers like Cape performers. Mathis was awesome in the Cape. He played this year with an elbow injury. His batted ball data has been really good. Bloodlines, his dad was a pitcher in Cleveland's organization in the 90s. He's also a coach's son. Dad was a coach for a while. He's got a lot of reasons why to think the arrow is up, and you're probably able to save some money, which a year ago, what the Brewers do, they take Mike Boev, coach's son, some good, great, excellent batted ball data that they could save some money to spread around. Tampa likes first baseman, right? Blake Burke, first baseman, Tennessee. I like Burke more than I like White, if I'm being honest. He's got some really strong data there. I kind of like him is almost on the same level as Billy Amick. Big time power. It's been a while since Tampa took a first baseman early, right? Thank you, Drastic, as well, for the kind words. Toronto. Okay, so going back to what I talked about with them in round one, Bryce Meekag, right-hand pitcher from the Pennington, whose dad is a bullpen coach with the Pirates. They like their bloodlines, and he is a guy who could go end of round one, could go around here. It's just a potential. I don't know if I want to say value. He's in. This is strongly his tier of guys. Makes sense for Toronto if they want to take some gambles. Twins. So had them going. Why am I blanking on my round one? I guess I got to scroll back up. This is the danger. I had him go prep, and then I had him go college. I'm gonna have him go college again, and I'm gonna give him Josh Hartle, the left-hand pitcher from Wake. Josh Hartle was a no doubt first rounder heading into the year, and it was bad. It was really bad. He was awesome as a sophomore, and then just a mess this year. And if you're the Twins and you trust your development, you can help right the ship here. You're looking for traits, not performance. And Hartle could be a quick to the majors back end starter. And he was on MLB.com as their number one college pitcher entering the year. And a lot of times we do look for traits. Baltimore, 61. Anthony Silva, shortstop, TCU. Another player who, I don't know if I want to say the bottom fell out of. It was a disappointing year. Entering the year, Silva was top 20 prospect, draft eligible sophomore, no doubt shortstop. I had some people say he's a sleeper for the top 10 at the time, and it just hasn't been there. Like, he is a guy who might go back. There's a world where he is going to have more of an ability to earn money because he's a no doubt shortstop if he goes back. Baltimore has a history of taking draft eligible sophomores. I believe Max Wagner was one. We know they were going to take Jude Fabian, who was one. That doesn't scare them off. I don't think they'd be afraid of the down performance. 62, Atlanta. Atlanta took Waldrop a year ago because of pitcher traits over performance, figuring they can do a better job than a college team. Thatcher Hurd, LSU, UCLA. Man, that UCLA class was awesome, and every single player in it has a horror story to tell. Gage Jump was another guy who transferred from that UCLA class. And there's a lot of other guys, Malachi Knight, Cody Schreier, and then we'll talk about on draft day at some point. But Hurd has fantastic stuff. Could have been a first rounder out of high school. If you trust your development, you can be like, hey, he bounced between two schools and started at one that's just a horror show. We can maybe get more out of Thatcher Hurd. I knew people who entering the year thought he was the best pitcher in this class. Philadelphia. If they go pitching, Dason Hill, the 17-year-old out of Texas. They like Texas pitching. They like big pitchers. I think he makes a ton of sense. Gonna get myself in trouble here. I'm gonna just reload this and lose my entire draft, which is awesome. So I'm just gonna do this. I apologize because the website I did it on completely fell apart, and now I lost it. So at 64, I had Arizona, and with the 64th overall pick, I thought for sure I'd have it memorized. I know who I have at 65. Oh, now I know. It's Carter Holton, left-hand pitcher of Vanderbilt. After going with some of the other players that were still available, he's kind of the last of his tier of college arms. He's a player who didn't quite step up the way he was hoping. Undersized lefty, but there's some good traits, good stuff there. I thought he has he's end of the second, more into the third, so I had Carter Holton there. Texas, Joey Okie, with some savings, maybe with their top pick. Okie was like a borderline first rounder. He's been overused. His stuff is backed up. But he's an interesting, highly athletic player who kind of made sense at 65 to Texas. So, 65 picks. There we go. In under an hour, in spite of kids having meltdowns and my technology working against me. So I want to thank everyone who came, specifically to Drastic, Mike, Zustin, Samuel, Sam, Jacob, and Landon, who all jumped into the chat. Thank you to everyone who watched. I really appreciate all of you. I will do a physical mock on my Twitter, just a quick one using the Prospects Live before the draft. That's it. Thank you all. I'm gonna go take a break and have lunch and get ready for, I'm wearing the shirt my son got me for Christmas, which is an Elmo shirt saying best Christmas ever, because the draft is my Christmas. So I'm going to take a bit of a break, relax, and then join you all for draft day. So I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will catch you all this evening. Make sure to check out the Locked On Guardians stream. We're going all night for the draft, 5:15 Eastern until whenever the whole darn thing's over. Thank you all.